Well, welcome back, everyone.
Welcome back, indeed.
We are on a roll.
Australia, we went down under. That was cool. Karen was fabulous.
Wasn't
Great job,
she
by the way. You are double
amazing?
dipping between co-hosting and interviewing. You are doing the shuffle very gracefully, by the way.
Back and forth, back and forth.
Weave.
That's what we women do. We can do that. We're talented in that sense. But Karen really brought up some amazing points, right, Rich? What were some of your golden nuggets from that?
You know, one of the biggest things that she got late in the conversation, I was really glad she got into this, but the values, the idea of mentorship, which I really, really love. I was like, oh, I love this woman. And then she got into the idea of through the mentorship, through the values, I want to help with the right people, the right women, the right leaders in the right place. So they kind of let them determine their own destination. It's kind of like those old books where you're like, pick your journey, but they also help you pick it by getting to know who you are. Yes. What a novel leadership idea.
Yeah. And today we have someone very special that's going to join us now that knows Karen very well. As a matter of fact, it's her boss. But we are excited.
No pressure here.
I know, no pressure for Karen. And she didn't even know he was coming. But we have the pleasure to invite Sheriff Karamat, who happens to be the PCMA President and CEO. So let's bring him on because we've got some questions for him and his thoughts about Karen. So let's welcome Sheriff on board here. Hi, Sheriff.
There he is.
Hello, Deborah, and hello, Rich. Anytime I'm with the two of you, it's a good day. So happy to be here.
Well, we're so honored that you were able to show up, and I know you're very proud of Karen being part of the selected few to be on this show for the International Hospitality Women's Day, and we're just thrilled that you are here.
Well, I am thrilled that you are celebrating this day. It's so important for women around the world, and what a better example than Karen is, and indeed you, Deborah. So I want to make sure that we point that out as well. Your accomplishments are many.
Thank you.
So, Sheriff, I'm kind of curious. Deborah asked Karen a question on what did you learn through pandemic? What did you learn through the pandemic and all the pivot, and especially with the idea of the role of women leadership in what you do? What did you learn through all this?
Well, one thing in that interview, and I will address your question, not dodge it in a minute, but one thing I'll tell you is that while you said what you said about Karen and her leadership, what I've found about Australians in general is that this is a nation, maybe because it's a smaller nation, whether it's sports, whether it's women in leadership, they have always punched above their weight. And so I'm very fascinated by Australians in general and what they've done as a nation. You see that in the Olympics, you see that in the convention bureaus across the country. I've got some incredible women leaders, including Karen, a former convention bureau leader. What I found with respect to the pandemic and what I thought is that initially how unprepared our industry was to face the pandemic. And we have gone through this this situation multiple times, yet still I thought we were very unprepared. What I do think, though, that something that's happened, and Karen touched on it, was resilience, and the idea that the community was so strong that it came together very forcefully and took care of each other, was there for each other. And today I could say proudly that this community is as resilient as ever and ready to tackle the challenges and the opportunities that the pandemic has created for all of us.
So, Sheriff, that's really well said. But she talked about resilience, but she also talked about, I'm not afraid of change, and I actually like change. I love that in a leader. I don't care who you are. You have to lead change, adapt to change. And she said she actually prefers change. What do you think about that?
Well, that's Karen. I mean, you know, that's well, let's face it. I think that and talking about change, and I think Sir Isaac Newton said the ones that are the most adaptable will survive, and that's that special skill in people who, you know, change can be a difficult word for people, and the fact that people who thrive in change is really good. But when you talk about change, sometimes people say, "Here we go again. Why do we need to change?" And my framing of change has always been, let's not speak about change in of itself, but let's speak about the benefits that change will bring about for you. And when we focus on that outcome, and Karen is actually a great teacher of that. She focuses on the outcome, but because of her ability to be flexible and adaptable, she's able to do that. And I think that she would serve as a great mentor to young people to say that, listen, in a world that we live in, flexibility, change is not a destination, it's a constant, and we've got to live that way.
So you're stealing my questions right out of my playbook here, man. I don't. Deborah, jump in before he steals another one of my questions.
Well, and I know Sheriff and I spoke earlier this week, and he had some really, really good points to what Karen was displaying as well. And one of them was you, Sheriff, back in May of 2018, launched a CEO Promise. During a presentation that was called She Means Business panel at IMAX in Frankfurt. And you were promoting diversity and inclusiveness across events industry worldwide. And there were 3 areas that you mentioned that CEOs need to do and get on board with. And one was make workplaces and events open with trust settings. You said provide education on barriers that we're dealing with, and to share what we know, what we learn, and what needs improvement. Have the CEOs since then stepped up? And if not, what's next?
So first and foremost, Rich, I got to tell you that I was the only guy in business. So I was in heaven, by the way. And, it was the best thing.
Like Rich is today.
And so it worked really well. You know, that was an interesting question. When I started out that pledge, it was solely based on women and equity for women, and felt that in order to achieve equity, first we have to have the I in that word, which is inclusiveness. Include women in the conversation, and then we can focus on all the other things. When I launched a pledge, I immediately got about 150 CEOs to sign the pledge around the world. Clearly not enough, and we've got a lot of work to do. But the one thing on the 3 things that you just mentioned, Deborah, was what was baseline, where are we starting from, and how are we going to measure success over time? And it's important that we do have a baseline of understanding of where we're at so that we can grow from there. I felt that in many of the sectors within this business, and I want to decompartmentalize them. So, for example, Karen spoke very eloquently about the hospitality sector. But if we speak about the business event sector as event organizers, there are different level of equity and inclusion for women in different sectors, and how we do that. And I based on the results that I'm seeing, and you and I have talked about this on measurements, I have seen that in the association sector, for example, in Europe, 50% of medical societies are now led, or more than 50% are led by women, which is incredible. But in the hospitality sector, for example, in the hotels and other hospitality organizations, women are still very much underrepresented, even though they might feel a lion's share of the jobs in the industry. So we've got work to do in certain sectors, and I know that I am seeing leaders across the hotel sector and various hotel companies that are taking this very, very seriously, because it is, forget about equity in and of itself as the right thing to do. It makes good business.
Right.
And if you know, I think many people do social things that they call them social or value things. They didn't start with value in mind. It started with economics. My philosophy is quite simple. I don't care where you start from. You don't have to be the perfect individual. If it's an economic reason, go for it. But if it results in equity, then more power to you.
Right, right. And that's explained so well. And I know our viewers definitely get what you are saying. And because it makes sense. It just makes all the sense. If you could just dissect and narrow everything down just like what you did, that makes a lot of sense. And I know earlier in the show, Rich was talking about even try to define what leadership really stands for. And Rich, you came up with experimental leadership.
Yeah,
And
this is all experimental right now, right? This is
that made a
all
lot of
total
sense.
experimental.
That made a lot of sense. And then earlier this week, Sheriff, you said showcase leadership. And I love that. Can you explain to everyone what you meant by that?
Well, I think that in many ways we want to showcase women, and in order to showcase women, we shouldn't just be talking about women's issues. And on this day, on September 23rd, I think it's so critical as we celebrate this day. We need to talk about the type of leadership that women demonstrate. And it's not about being a female, which I know that we're celebrating, but what got them to the table wasn't about being a woman or being female. It's not about gender. It was about the qualities that they exude and how they demonstrated leadership qualities that allowed their organizations to grow, allowed them to bring along future leaders, and allow themselves to grow at the same time. So demonstrating that could be in many ways. I'm proud of many female leaders, but not specifically speaking about leadership because you're female, but what you have done, what you have accomplished. And I think that to me is so inspiring to young women and men. And so seeing what a female leader has done, or how a female has competed in sports or in whatever the area is, there's so much to learn from, and seeing what they did versus the fact that they were female or male.
So I'm going to jump on that because Karen was talking to Deborah during the interview, and she said, I did not come from the most affluent family, but now she worked for the C-suite level, like I do with the C-suite network and thing. She made that jump, Sheriff, and she moved from one. That's a leader. She's got so much of life, of contextual experience. So she's not just a female that's a leader. She's a leader that happens to be a female. And I think that journey, speak to that a little bit. What about that journey? What does that add to your value as someone that wants you to have her on your leadership team?
So what she talked about, which I really appreciate her saying that, is this simple, that in order for us to see further than others, we have to stand on shoulders of giants. That's a famous quote, you all know it, but and she eloquently said she had great mentors, and she specifically spoke about a gentleman in the hospitality industry. And I think that recognizing the fact that regardless of your station in life, you could achieve anything you want. And I'm here to say that Karen is a poster child for that. But I'm also here to say, in front of any young male or female, the only thing that stands in their way is themselves. And you touched on something that you said, an experiment.
Huh.
Most organizations and most leaders, we're learning every day.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can find the joys of experimenting and learning and building from that learning, I know people say fail fast. I don't believe in that statement. I say learn fast. So instead of saying you're failing, you're learning. And
Right.
every day we build upon that journey. I think that she has done a remarkable job of doing that. She talked about her personal brand, but many people would say that, okay, that's a very contrived way. Actually, people bestow your brand upon you based on your actions and your deeds and what you do. And Deborah, you're one of those people.
Oh.
And you know, you get that by earning it. You don't get
Right.
it by beating your chest.
Right.
And Karen has earned that. And I think so many female leaders have earned that. And demonstrating that type of leadership around the world based on whatever industry you decide to be in will make you successful, not because you're male or female.
Right.
And she's clearly one of those people.
I mean, she's
Right.
a CEO now. Come on, she's a CEO. What
I know.
more can you want from where she's been to where she is, right, Deborah?
Well, I wanted to
brilliant
give her
one.
some humility, and I said that's
Wow. Well, we're so glad that you were able to join us. I definitely have one more question for you. And that is, coming from PCMA's worldwide organization, one of the biggest organizations in our industry. What do you feel that PCMA or maybe your own personal take, what do you feel that the International Hospitality Women's Day actually means? Bottom line, what does it actually mean?
Well, it showcases to me the major contribution that women has made in our industry for a very, very long time. And I think that, and Rich, if you touched on this, I want to say this as well, that what COVID has done, it's actually uncovered, it's exposed many things for what it really is. And one of those things is the many contributions women have made and put a spotlight on it. And for me today, I want this day to be an inspiration for young women and men to know that this industry is an incredible contributor to economic growth and social good, and that I want the International Women's Day in Hospitality and Tourism to be an inspiration for young people to get involved in this industry. It's rich, it's rewarding. And Karen touched on it, and she said she felt like days that she was getting perks for her job. But the reality is that she had to deliver results, but she enjoyed what she was doing. This is a very rewarding industry. And I'm hoping that this day will serve as an inspiration for all our young people, especially women, but for young men and women.
Totally agree.
So when I come to Australia, this is my dream location, by the way, Sheriff. I have not come to Australia. Where do I need to go? Tell me where the best hospitality is at, so I can come and really
enjoy it. You need to call Karen on that one.
Well, Karen will tell you that you need to go to Melbourne.
Of course.
And because she's biased, and you can tell her I said that, and of course she would be. But Australia is a country that is absolutely diverse as in terms of its offering. If you like golfing, there's some of the best golfing in the world. If you like diving and the barrier reef and some of the things to see. If you like wine tasting and wines, Australia's got some of the best in the world.
Yes, they do.
One passion of mine that I think is a lot of fun is to do the bridge climb in Sydney. And you climb on top of the bridge and over the bridge. It's incredible experience.
Okay, wait a second. Wait. You climb
on top
of the bridge.
Yes, and everyone must climb. They actually put you in a jumpsuit so that you don't distract the cars. And it's a gray sort of jumper that you wear. They wouldn't call it that in Australia, but we would call it like a one-piece thing, that you wear, and it's gray so you wouldn't distract. But you climb on top of the bridge. The actual opera house looks like a tiny little building when you're on top of it. But it's an incredible.
Deborah, when you and I go to visit Sheriff, you know what we're going to do, right?
Yeah. Karen or Sheriff, I'm just hoping PCMA has a conference in Australia pretty soon. That'll be a good excuse for us.
We will, Deborah. And we partner with AIM and many Australian societies, so we do things there all the time. So we'd love to have you there. And certainly, but the country is so vast. There's so much to do. And what you would find is a warm, welcoming people. It's a vast country, but it's a small population. But really, as I say, Aussies punch above their weight. They really do.
Yeah. There you go. Well, thank you. It was such a pleasure having you. We really are happy that you joined us. And I know Karen will be very, very surprised. And I know we're going to hear more about PCMA, especially regarding International Hospitality Day and all the work that PCMA wants to do. So everybody out there listening, keep your eyes and ears open and watch what PCMA is going to be doing this coming year. So thank you so much for joining us.
Deborah and Rich, thank you so much. And you have my commitment to support this day going forward. And I look forward to working with you both as we not just celebrate this, but put some real concrete actions into growing.
And next year is going to be
Absolutely.
bigger and better, Sheriff. We've already got plans for next year. Just wait.
Look forward.
Thank you,
All right.
Sheriff.
Take care, all. Bye.
Bye-bye.
He was fantastic. Just to add on top of what Karen had to say, but also just, did you hear the positive energy of future casting and the best is yet to come and the potential to keep rising women up within? And I mean, he clearly loves Karen, what Karen brings to the table, but he's also moving it to, we have more to do and more to do, and it's going to get better. What a great guy to have, adding that gasoline to this, right?
Right. Absolutely. And like he mentioned, it's not just a focus, although this is International Hospitality Women's Day, the focus is not just on women. It's global. It's through generations. It's through genders. It's through beliefs. It's through cultures. I mean, the list goes on and on. It's just that this is a statement to get things moving forward. And I adore him. And I believe what he is doing with PCMA that affects the entire world. And he's just been a gold mine to our entire industry, and nobody better to run this organization of PCMA like Sheriff Karamat. So thank you so much, Sheriff, for being with us, and Karen as well. And now we can actually switch over to where are we flying to next, Rich?
The travel log is taking us to beautiful India. And again, I'm going to move my head out of the way. Look at that.
I'm going to put you full screen on this one.
Right,
Take it away.
This is absolutely spectacular. It's gorgeous. Again, there's a kind of mysticism and mystery about Asia sometimes that people talk about, but the hospitality, the stories I've heard of people that have gone, and that they love loving on people. I think might be a simple way of saying it, Deborah, is that they really have that openness, the genuineness, and there is something about the culture that just lends itself to falling in to what is presented before you, just embracing the natural, the mystic, the setting sun, just the Asian setting sun. It's just a beautiful, beautiful place, and that's where we're gonna go next.
Yeah, I love it. That is really, really pretty. And for this next segment, which is just in a few minutes, I'm going to actually talk with Meena Bhatia, and she is the vice president. Get this, Rich, vice president and general manager of the Le Méridien New Delhi in India. So we are going to be in India, and she's going to share with us, what the landscape looks like in India right now when it comes to, hospitality, tourism, and travel. She's going to talk about women and how they are connecting and collaborating in India, along with the challenges that she sees that's going on there. And what does it look like for the future for women in hospitality when it comes to her own culture in India? And I tell you, the bio on this lady is like a full page. She's been in the industry for 4 decades. I mean, absolutely brilliant. I'm so glad we got a chance to have her, because she's had every award given to her, along with some really cool initiatives like the Women Empowerment and Save the Girl Child, and various other institutions that are part of the India Foundation. And she's just incredible. So I'm looking forward to having everybody listen to what she's going to share with us today.
Well, and also remember, we started in Canada. The difference of culture and imagery and the role of women in the Asian culture overall is vastly different than Canada. So we're going to have a big, stark conversation probably from what has been to what's emerging to what is to come, and how that's had to shift and change. But their place in the culture is vastly different than what you and I would probably know about, but also it's becoming more and more high impactful. There are those risk takers, those change agents we talked about way at the beginning of our morning here together, that they are emerging in the Asian culture for this. And again, I think the hospitality there from my friends that have gone, it's really sweet experience. They know how to give you that feeling of sit back, relax, we'll take care of everything for you.
Right. Definitely. So what's really going to be cool about this, it's going to be the quickest 30 minutes that anybody's thought of before. But while this is going on, we're hoping that people will come on, like Sheriff did just now,
Yeah.
and be on the show just like this and give us your thoughts. And maybe there's somebody that you want to claim as your international hospitality woman. But right below here, you can see the address to get involved, which is hello@hospitalitytodaylive.com. Our staff behind the scenes will take that email request and give you the link to come on the show. And if not, if you're still a little shy, which we hope we're not, we've got the chat box as well. Or participate while we talk with Mina Petita in a few minutes. So there's several different ways of being involved. We want you to come on and play with us and give us your perspective as well.
And where would you like us to go next year? Because again, we just talked to Sheriff about the conversations already proven. We're already being asked about next year. And that's one of the funnest things is this kind of began and it morphed and morphed. And now we're already having people say, you are doing next year, right? And we want this. So I'm interested for people watching, viewing, experience this with us. What do you want for next year? Maybe what country should Deborah go make sure we knock on their door and talk to the leaders in the of the hospitality space and women, because this is only just the beginning of a brand new conversation. And plus, I like what Sheriff said. It is changing so rapidly now. Again, there is so much newness coming out of that, and to those places that are not risk adverse, but they're actually wanting to experiment, like we talked about. Those are going to be the fun conversations.
Yeah.
And I wonder what they're going to talk about next year, by the way, besides the rest of the day. What are they going to talk about next year about what they learned and the biggest risk and what they did and how radically different this space is for the women leaders, for their voices, for the stages, and for just the experience. We haven't even talked about, I got questions about technology. I've got questions about intake. I've got questions about room service things, everything. The Uber generation is here. That's impacting hospitality.
Yeah. Yeah, it all blends together. So it's all about being in it together as well. And I believe through this whole pandemic thing that everybody's going through, I think we need to finally just put it in the past and start moving forward. And I'm hoping, again, the viewers here with us today are traveling around the world with us. So India is coming up next. I feel like it's a beauty pageant. We had Miss Canada. We have Miss Australia, and now
you know
we have
nothing about those.
India.
No, you know nothing about. By the way, can I just kind of mention something here?
Absolutely.
Aren't you like a two-time winner back-to-back years in Arizona?
Who's this?
Haven't you been in pageants? Haven't you been involved with pageants before?
Yes. Right before the pandemic, I was reigned as Mrs. Arizona because I am married. Not bad for a 61-year-old at the time, but because of the COVID, they had to cancel the following year, so we had to continue that reign, which I'm glad we did because we haven't had a chance to really go out and do our assigned duties, and now we've been able to do that. And next week, I will be heading to Las Vegas for the Mrs. America pageant. So a lot going on this month.
And it's a great Trivia Pursuit question. Someday she will be in a Trivia Pursuit box. Who was the two-year running Mrs. America from Arizona? You now know her. You love her. It's a great trivia question.
There you go. Well, that's pretty cool. So I am looking at the time.
I also want to mention, while you're checking out time, my biggest takeaway from Karen, honestly, was the mentorship aspect. The idea they're intentionally mentoring. It was one of her passions of taking the leaders like her, because again, she wasn't from the affluent, but she's now a C-suite executive VP. She is mentoring women and leaders to grow and scale. Mentorship is one of my passions. I love it. I think it's coming back as a very powerful tool everywhere, but she's bringing it back in hospitality. I think it's a great strategy, and I just applaud her for highlighting that today with you.
Yeah. I'm glad she brought that up too. And we hope to give other women, and like Sheriff even said, we want to attract the younger generation, because if we don't, another industry will. And I believe, like you, if mentorship is going to be a trend with these women today, That really tells you right there, the younger generation, this is where you want to be in this industry, because all the help and confidence and support will be here for you. So that is a good thing. That is
Learn it from the ground level up. Learn it inside out. Those make the best leaders. You've been there. You've done that. You swept the floor and you've gone to the pet house, but you've done it all. That's the best leader that knows how to lead an organization.
Yeah. And so far, we've had 2 men on the show, you and Sheriff, and your description of leadership is just so spot on. Experimental and showcase. I love it. I love it. I love it. It was really, really brilliant. And that's a good way for us to look at what we need to do and to not be stuck in a rabbit hole that, hey, leadership is too hard, or it's too difficult, or
it's challenging, it's exciting, leadership's worth it. And even when you go through the crucible, the best leaders are the ones that know how to lead through the pain, and the industry of hospitality has definitely experienced it. And there's great leaders like Karen, and like we're going to find out in India coming up in a few moments. So in a few moments ago, you have to reshuffle, reset, do your papers all over again, and make sure you're ready to go interview and talk about India. But again, this is why we're celebrating women. The women are leading the charge. The women are shaking it up. The norm, the status, things are moving in a positive direction. Again, thank you, Deborah, for making sure this day was highlighted in a new and exciting way.
And thank you, because we couldn't do this without you, and so we really appreciate it. And again, we are here for the very, very first ever International Hospitality Day with Rich and myself. And next up, we're going to be in India, so we will be back. Don't go away, and let's take this trip together.
I can't wait.
Okay, here we go.